Many people were a little critical of the way that Trayvon Boykin came out and played against Minnesota, being a Heisman candidate, but Gary Patterson had some words to the contrary. With Carlos Mendez, I'm Travis Brown. Carlos, Gary seemed to really be kind of talking up Trayvon and what he did in that Minnesota game that was maybe a little bit more than just what meets the eye when you see it.
Yeah, and I don't blame him for that, because it's real easy for a narrative to get established on a guy if he's not, putting up the kind of numbers you expect. But what Patterson's trying to do here is really tell you why Boykin's so important to this team. And it's simply because of his experience. The guy knows what to do on the field. He's very competitive, and Patterson said he said that came through on film as he watched the game over 2 and 3 times. And I think that's really what he's trying to make sure that everybody realizes about Trayvon Boykin, is that this guy is the reason we're winning, and he's the reason we're going to keep on winning. I don't blame him at all for trying to get that message out.
With this game they have upcoming against Stephen F. Austin, you have a chance where guys like Boykin and some of his wide receivers can really kind of find that rhythm that maybe a Minnesota defense didn't necessarily afford them. But it's also a time to look at some linebackers, as Patterson said today that linebacker Sammy Douglas will be done for the season, and James McFarland is definitely questionable for a long time. What do you think what do you see in this defense that definitely needs to step up and fill that void?
Well, I think it's just what Patterson keeps talking about, which is experience. These guys need snaps under their belt. They all look the part, they can all run the part, they can all play the part, but they've all got to just kind of gain that experience. And this is the time of year to do that in games against Stephen F. Austin, games against SMU, although it's not looking like the kind of game that it did at the start of the year. But these next 2 weeks are going to be where you get those snaps to get ready for that Texas Tech game, which is where you want this defense to start being at the point where you want it to be, when that time of the season's here.
Ty Summers, a guy that Patterson said will probably take a lot of that role that Sammy Douglas had on, but also Montrell Wilson, who's a guy who moved from safety to linebacker before fall camp, is a guy that he said he wanted to get more active into the defense with Sammy Douglas dropping out. I think, predictions aside for the SFA, what do you think would definitely be some keys for TCU going into that game?
Well, just to look good, just to look sharp, just to look the part of a team that's ranked in the top 5. This is a game where they ought to be able to get a lot of guys in, a lot of players in, and see a lot of different things, and almost use it as an extension of the fall camp, and just restore everybody's confidence and let everyone establish their own credentials for Patterson and the coaches, because this is a game where there's going to be enough snaps to go around. And with as many injuries as you're dealing with and new players in new spots, you can't let these games go without being a chance to evaluate some of these positions.
Mm-hmm. And Big 12 had a little trouble with some of these FCS schools this past week, with Kansas falling to South Dakota State and Sam Houston State putting up a lot of offensive yards against Texas Tech. That's your preview for TCU versus SFA. Be sure to check StarTelegram.com for all the best recaps and videos from that game.